Ireland has been conquered many times, but long before Vikings, long before Norman lords, there was a legendary invasion that reshaped the island forever. A fleet of strangers arrived from across the sea, warriors, poets, kings. They came not only with swords, but with prophecy. 7 brothers stepped onto Irish soil, claiming the land by destiny. But magic answered them. Storms rose from nowhere. Ships shattered against the sea. 5 brothers drowned beneath the waves. Only 3 survived. And from those 3, the fate of Ireland would be decided. Tonight, we tell the story of Éber Finn, the southern king of the Milesians. Hello, and welcome back, witches and wanderers, to the Morbid Witch Podcast. Tonight, we return to the mythic history of Ireland, a world where kings are remembered through legend as much as history, and where the land itself seems alive with ancient memory. Our subject tonight is Éber Finn, one of the legendary sons of Milesians, and a foundational figure in the Milesian conquest of Ireland. Éber Finn is remembered as a warrior king, a conqueror, and one of the earliest high kings of Ireland. Liber Gabala Éireann, or the Book of the Taking of Ireland, a medieval text that tells the mythological story of how different peoples came to settle the island. According to this tradition, the Milesians were the final invaders, the ancestors of the Irish people themselves. But Éber Finn's story is not simply one of victory. It is also a tale of rivalry, division, ambition, and tragic conflict between brothers. Through storm, battle, and betrayal, his life helped shape the mythological origins of Ireland's kingship. Tonight we dive deep into the myth, the invasion, the Battle of Talchio, and the bitter feud that ultimately led to Éber Finn's death. The Milesians were said to be descendants of Milesians, a legendary figure whose name roughly means soldier of Spain. According to Irish myth, his people had wandered across many lands before, finally turning their attention toward Ireland, an island they believed had been promised to them by fate. It was not Mil himself who would conquer the island, however. Instead, the task fell to his sons. Among them were Éber Finn, Eadrimon, and Avergin, along with several other brothers. Each played a role in the invasion, though their personalities and destinies would prove dramatically different. Avergin was the poet and druid of the group, a figure of deep spiritual authority whose words could shape the world. Eadrimon was a capable leader and warrior, known for his strategic mind, and Éber Finn, often described as bold and proud, embodied the ambition of a conqueror who believed the land should belong to him. Together, the brothers assembled a fleet and sailed toward Ireland. They landed on the southwestern coast, in what is now County Kerry, marking the beginning of one of the most important mythological invasions in Irish lore. But Ireland was not empty. It was already ruled by the Tuatha De Danann. When the Milesians reached Tara, the sacred seat of Irish kingship, they encountered the rulers of the island, 3 kings of the Tuatha De Danann. These kings were Miquel, Miquet, and Migrania, divine rulers descended from the supernatural race that had once dominated Ireland. The Tuatha De Danann were masters of magic and mystery, known for their otherworldly power and deep connection to the land. Rather than immediately attacking the invaders, the Tuatha De Danann proposed a challenge, one that seemed fair but concealed a trap. They decreed that the Milesians must return to their ships and sail 9 waves away from Ireland. If they could land again from that distance, then the island would rightfully belong to them. It was a test of fate. The Milesians agreed, but the Tuatha De Danann had no intention of losing their homeland so easily. Once the Milesian ship sailed out to sea, the Tuatha De Danann unleashed their magic. A supernatural storm erupted across the waters surrounding Ireland. Winds screamed across the waves. The sea rose violently. Ships splintered under the assault of impossible forces. It was a magical storm meant to destroy the invaders completely. 5 of Éber Finn's brothers were swallowed by the sea. Their ships were lost to the storm, and their names would be remembered only in fragments of legend. For a moment, it seemed the Milesian invasion had failed, but 3 ships survived. On them were Éber Finn, Arimon, and Avergen. As the storm raged, Avergen stepped forward. He was not merely a warrior. He was a poet of immense magical power. In Irish tradition, poets and druids possessed abilities that blurred the line between language and sorcery. Avergen recited a powerful incantation, a chant meant to calm the storm and claim Ireland for the Milesians. His famous declaration proclaimed his unity with the land itself, identifying himself with mountains, winds, rivers, and the sea. The words symbolized a deep bond between the Milesian people and the island they sought to claim. The storm weakened. The surviving ships pushed forward, and at last the Milesians landed once more on Irish soil. The battle for Ireland was about to begin. The decisive conflict between the Milesians and the Tuatha De Danann took place at the Battle of Tealchu. It was here that the fate of Ireland would finally be decided. Despite the magical power of the Tuatha De Danann, the Milesians proved formidable opponents. They fought fiercely, determined to secure the land that destiny had promised them. In the end, the Tuatha De Danann were defeated, but they did not vanish completely. Instead, they retreated into the otherworld, becoming the mystical beings later known in Irish folklore as the Ishi, or the fairy folk who inhabited Ireland's ancient hills and mounds. With their victory at Tealchu, the Milesians became the new rulers of Ireland. But the question remained, who would rule the land? Following victory, the surviving brothers agreed to divide Ireland between them. Arimon took control of the northern half of Ireland. Éber Finn ruled the southern half. At first, the arrangement appeared stable. Each brother had his own territory, his own court, and his own followers. But unity among conquerors rarely lasts forever. Within a year, tensions began to grow. Éber Finn became increasingly dissatisfied with the division of land. Whether he believed the South was less powerful or simply desired full kingship is unclear, but the result was the same. He wanted more, and he was willing to fight his own brother to obtain it. The rivalry between the brothers erupted into open war at the Battle of Ergetros. It was a tragic conflict, brother against brother. The very men who had conquered Ireland together now standing on opposite sides of the battlefield. Ahriman's forces proved stronger. The battle ended in catastrophe for Éber Finn. He was defeated and killed. With Éber Finn's death, Ahriman became the sole High King of Ireland. The unity of the Milesian brothers had collapsed into bloodshed. Yet Éber Finn's legacy would not end there. Although Éber Finn died in battle, his bloodline continued through his sons. Among them were Conmail, Orba, Feiron, and Fergna. Through these descendants, Éber Finn's lineage remained an important part of Ireland's royal traditions. In fact, later legends claimed that the High Kingship of Ireland would alternate between the descendants of Ahriman and Éber Finn. This tradition symbolized a lingering balance between the northern and southern dynasties that traced their ancestry back to the Milesian conquest. Through these genealogies, Éber Finn became more than a fallen king. He became a foundational ancestor, one of the mythic forefathers of the Irish people. Today, Éber Finn's story lives on in Irish mythological history, not as a simple tale of conquest, but as part of a larger narrative about identity, ancestry, and the origins of the Irish nation. His story intertwines with those of his brothers, the Tuatha De Danann, and the mystical landscapes of Ireland itself. The mountains, rivers, and hills of the island remain deeply connected to these ancient legends. And like many mythic kings, Éber Finn's life reflects both triumph and tragedy. A conqueror who helped claim a kingdom, but who ultimately fell to the ambition that followed victory. Éber Finn's story reminds us that even legendary victories can carry seeds of conflict. The Milesians conquered Ireland together, but the struggle for power soon divided them. And in that division, history, or at least myth, was born. Thank you for listening to the Morbid Witch Podcast. You can follow the show on Spotify, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. Until next time, stay strange, stay spooky, and remember, the shadows are always watching.